there are a lot of people I know who are like master level players who they'll go online, they'll play for like 2 hours every night. End of the day, it is definitely an addiction. There's no way of sugarcoating it. It is an addiction. That's the bottom line.
It's always an honor to be joined by the world's #1 rated player, Magnus Carlsen. Magnus, sorry that today's match didn't go your way. And I guess in your own words, can you describe what you felt went wrong, especially in the early going of the match?
Well, I mean, first of all, sorry for wasting people's time in the sense that the event could have sort of been over with the interview with after the interview with Hikaru, but I mean, I just thought it was such a fascinating match that I wanted to share some of.
Is it too soft, you guys? It's too soft. Okay, let me up the volume. Let me up it. Okay.
Well, Magnus, we'll definitely give you the floor, and you can take this in whatever direction you want.
It should be good, right?
Sort of
it's good. Okay.
Prod you by asking, at which point in the match did you recognize that you were sort of off form? Was it something you recognized before the match began, or during the 5-minute portion?
Yeah, I mean, before the match, I was feeling a little bit of an energy deficit, but I thought I was still fine. And then,
I mean, to be fair, I mean, like, I also was feeling an energy deficit because I made the mistake I'm going to tell you guys, like, I made the mistake of actually, like, for whatever reason, I was not watching the World Cup. I'm just going to be honest. I wasn't watching the World Cup. And then for some reason, I just got bored early in the second half. And I turned on my TV and I went through the guide to find the channel the game was on. And I turned it on, and like that, it was like really hard because that was the last, like, the whole second half, the extra time penalties were so amazing that, like, I also, like, it was like when I posted that tweet, it's just like I was just like a little bit drained too, because when you watch a game like at least watching the whole second half and the extra time, it's just like nothing can really top that.
The first couple of games were sort of okay, I felt, and then the third game was just a that was a bit of a meltdown. It was just I was out playing a little bit. I got a better ending there with Bishop and Knight against 2 knights, and I was sort of building in the center. And then he set up this fortress. I tried to break it, and all of a sudden, like, he was playing for a win, and I was just bamboozled by that, and I lost some time in a position that was still tenable. So that was really yeah.
So actually, you guys, you're wondering why. You're probably wondering why I'm smiling. The reason I'm smiling, when I'm hearing Magnus say this, is because that's literally what Magnus has done his entire career. There's some position that's like completely drawn. Everybody's ready to go to bed. You're ready to go home, eat dinner, whatever it is, and somehow out of nowhere, you magically end up losing the game against him. So that's why I'm smiling, because like that's literally what he does to everybody. It's just, it doesn't happen to him though. It doesn't go the other way.
Sort of started, and I mean, frankly, for the rest of the 5 minutes, I felt that he played fantastic chess. He was just way better than me in every aspect, and at that point I was just looking forward to somewhat faster time controls, because I felt that he was doing a lot better than I was when we could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm gonna pause it for a second. Unpopular opinion that I think people don't realize. Like, I think I've alluded to this a few times in some of the interviews I've done in the SEC. I will actually tell you guys that I think 5+1 is my favorite time control. I love 5+1 because, like, it's the only time control where it starts to feel like real chess, where you have time to think and find the best moves. And I've always felt that 5+1, even though everyone thinks like in 3-1 or 1-1 I'm better, I've loved 5+1. That's always been my favorite time control to play in the match.
When we both had a lot of time to
you guys say then don't play so much 3-minute. Well, you guys, on the internet, nobody wants to play 5-minute games of chess. Also keep in mind, like, when I say 5 minutes, that's for serious chess. Like when I'm playing three minutes of chess, you guys, it's casual. It's very different. Like in a 3-minute game, I don't care if I make 20 blunders in a game. Like it's just very different in the casual setting versus like a serious match.
Like he was strategizing better in the middle game, and generally just seeing things better. So I thought, and So I thought, like, when we have less time, there will be less time for him to think, and also it will force me to play a bit faster. So that's fine. Also, when I got my first win, I sort of calmed down a little bit, I think. To be fair, like, a couple of games later, I mean, I put my bishop on pre, overlooking a backwards knight move, which is not impressive, to say the least. But I felt at that point that he was vulnerable, and I was already, like, really cherishing the challenge of making it all the way back. And I even with that game, I felt that I had a chance. So the rest of the match was just really, really enjoyable. I didn't make it in the end.
The bottom line, what Magnus is saying, he's saying it was exactly like the soccer game yesterday, is what he's saying. He's saying that basically, like, the first half of the soccer game was very boring, nobody enjoyed it, and the second half was, like, really, really great. And he's basically saying that, like, 5+1 was boring, nobody cares, and then it became, like, a lot of fun.
And of course I wish I had, but, like, after the start I had, I'm just happy that it was competitive, and yeah, it was a joy to participate in, and I mean, we both obviously blundered a bunch in the 3+1 and the bullet, and we also both did make some very, very good moves, both in time pressure and otherwise. But I felt that at that point it was just a really, really fun struggle, and yeah, it really could have gone either way. In the game that happened after I'd tied the match, I was white. I was sort of pressing a little bit there, and then I blundered a pawn. We got into drawn rook ending, and somehow there I exchanged the pawns in the wrong way, so I lost the pawn. And after that, yeah, it was really, really tough again. The last game, I was looking at the clock, understood what was going to happen, but yeah, at that point there was nothing I could do. But yeah, generally, he's amazing at this format. I remember his match against Fedoseev 2 years ago. His 5+1 segment there. I felt that's pretty much as well as it's possible to play.
Well, I mean, that 5+1 segment is what got me blocked by Fedoseev on chess.com. So yeah, that's a good one.
In that particular time control, and I did feel today that he came sort of at least very close to that level. So, you know, hats off for that. That was not fun to face that particular segment, but it was amazing to see.
Magnus, it sounds like you love a good challenge, and everybody remembers or has heard the stories of you and Hikaru duking it out in a dark hotel room, playing a lot of Blitz. Now you're playing Blitz in front of over 150,000 fans. Can you explain what has changed in Hikaru over the last few years? Because, of course, in classical chess, you have most people's number, but you know, especially at his. What have you seen the growth in Hikaru's chess over the last couple of years?
I mean, obviously he's getting practice all the time from his streaming. That I think helps. I also think that his attitude has become a little bit better in the sense that he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll pause it for a second. I mean, the bottom line, I'll just say it too. Like, I'll be honest. Like, my chess has not changed at all one bit. I mean, if anything, my chess probably has gotten worse. But as the famous saying goes, like, chess is what, like 90% mental and like half physical or something. What is the saying? I forget what the exact saying is, but that's the bottom line.
Doesn't care as much anymore. I know that's a meme, but I think it's genuinely helping him. And he's always had talent. I think the the start of the pandemic, the results he had there in the Champions Chess Tour also helped his confidence quite a bit. Then, I mean, we played an epic match then as well. Seven matches that I finally won on Armageddon in the last game. Could have gone either way. Now we've sort of played 2 of them and we won 1 each. So I feel like that's probably fair enough. But yeah, he's just a beast at this format. Like, I generally still think that I'm a little bit better, but I didn't prove it. Didn't prove it today, and he's certainly as close as it well. I mean, basically anyone's ever been. So it's a great challenge.
Magnus, we got quite a few feature chat questions to get to, but first I have another more general question. How would you compare over the board versus online blitz? Do you have a clear preference? And
well, I mean, of course, there's a lot of mutual respect. I know everybody wants to make it sound like, you know, everybody's like mortal enemies, and it's like you want to go have some duel to the death or something like that. But like, unfortunately for all the people who want that to be the reality, that's like not the reality. I mean, I'm sorry, that just isn't the reality, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, at any rate, I mean, it's really fun. And as people say, like, yeah, the thing with playing Magnus is like, I mean, I am the only player who's played really well against Blitz. The problem is, like, for all the fans out there, basically during like the peak of my chess career, I never was able to even play at a competitive level. That's the thing, is like that's the thing that I think for everybody who wants there be a rivalry or something, is that for like so much of my career, I've had the potential to play great against Magnus. Now, I'm not saying that like I mean I'll beat him or anything, but at least to be competitive. But the problem is, for most of my career, I've just played like a complete lemon in most of the games. So you know, at least this time I was able to be comparable.
Can we expect you to play online Blitz and Bullet even, let's say, into your 50s and 60s? How strong is your addiction to online Blitz?
No, this is one of the things that sort of hit me. I think it hit me like one of the days when I played the Mr. Dargy Invitational before this. It was like, I absolutely love playing Blitz. Like, and I just had this. I mean, I've always loved it, but I guess I started like appreciating it more and more, and I just had these moments where I'm thinking that I don't feel like it's an addiction in the sense that it just. I feel, you know, some of the matches where you play for a long time, that can be put down to addiction, but I'm not sure it does a lot of harm. So for me, it's just improving quality.
I mean, okay, like I mean, Magnus is trying to make it sound like we're all kind of okay and we're not completely insane. But the simple reality is, yes, like we're all addicts, obviously. It's just our addiction is to chess. Like, I mean, it's just like, it's no different whether you talk about Magnus, myself, you talk about like there are a lot of people I know who are like master level players who they'll go online, they'll play for like 2 hours every night. End of the day, it is definitely an addiction. There's no way of sugarcoating it. It is an addiction. That's the bottom line
of life to have this passion. So yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I have to say, and that's sort of why this struggle was so much fun, because I mean, I had a score to settle in this tournament, so I've been like a little jittery at times. But when I got here to the final, I thought, then. At least the most important part sort of has been done. So I have to say, like, I cannot believe how much I enjoyed the match today, and the addiction, whether it lasts into the 50s or 60s, be that the decade or my age, who knows? But no, I absolutely love it.
Well, Magnus, we had about 150,000 concurrent viewers watching for 4 to 5 hours here. What do you think that says about the growing popularity of speed chess, and what do you see for its future?
It's amazing to see. I guess a lot of people who just finished watching the World Cup final and didn't want to leave the couch quite yet. So thank you all for sticking with us. I mean, some of them are probably still watching. So it's good to see. Obviously, this is I think this is as good as it gets. Like speed chess matches between Hikaru and I, be that blitz or rapid or even bullet, I think that's as good a show as it gets in chess. So I'm glad that people appreciate it as much as I do.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got an interesting feature chat question here, Magnus, from Zitaqualo. Could we have your honest take on Hikaru's clock running strategy? Do you feel like it's just totally part of the match, or was a little part of you irked?
Here we go.
No, it's
or both.
It's fine. It's completely fine. I was impressed by his constant awareness of those matters. There was this one game in the 3-1 where I played Modern, and he's actually done this against me before in the. It was one of the years in Norway Chess in the qualifier there where I think he was half a point ahead of me for the last round. I played the Pirts and
This I
played
don't
the very
remember.
same line where basically Black has to go for the perpetual, not to be worse.
Wait, Norwich has Blitz. This I don't remember actually. I don't remember Magnus playing this line against me. Someone can look it up. Someone can look it up. I don't recall that. Maybe I don't recall that. I don't recall it. Norwich has played a Modern. I was half point ahead, so I must have been winning the Blitz. I don't actually recall that. Yeah, yeah. Do you recall? Yes. Do you recall exactly? Good one, you guys.
And in that game, I actually went for something else.
No, he
which is really
no. Okay, so he changed it. He didn't play the line. No, he didn't play the line. Okay, he didn't play the line. He didn't play he changed it. He didn't play the whole bishop b5, bishop b4. Okay, never mind. So no, I'm not losing my mind. That's good.
If White knows what he's doing. That game was drawn as well, but I figured he'd learned the line, so I couldn't really do that. And I didn't realize the implications immediately. I was thinking that that we were going to have a draw, and then of course at some point I realized that he's going to take the 3 minutes, and I just gotta say it's props to him for recognizing that, and it's absolutely fair game. I have to say though, if there's one thing that I regret a little bit in this match, it's the sort of a little bit of uncompromising openings I played at various points as Black, because generally this A4 this A3 nonsense was really working well for me. I was getting playable positions, and generally outplaying him as White at some point. Well, first of all, maybe I should have started that earlier rather than the Catalan, but also a couple of the losses that I had with Black playing combative openings were maybe unnecessary. I think that there were enough White games for me to just say that you can have all the draws that you want as White. You can even run some clock. I have enough time. I'm going to win most of the White games if I can have my way there. So but basically the answer to the question is I understand that.
I mean, at the bottom line, I mean, he's not wrong. The bottom line is he played like a lemon in the 5+1. That's the bottom line. I mean, that's what allowed the whole separate meta game to come into play. If he if he's down by even like 1 or 2 after 5+1, the whole thing is different, and there's no running it down. That's the bottom line. End of the day, that's the bottom line. Like, there's no need to pretend. It's because he got down by too many points too early.
I understand the format, and it doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me one bit.
Or he went
Magnus,
behind.
we have another
he got down. He went behind.
Chat question for you. You tied the matchup after being down by 4 points. So Sir Laser asked, do you feel that you had the momentum when you tied things up?
Yeah, it's fun when you have these Zoom chats where your opponent is mic'd up, so I can actually hear things that people sitting at home cannot hear, and he can hear it when I'm mothering.
Actually, since someone decided to make a silly tweet, I have to be honest. Like, someone decided to make a silly tweet, so I do have to say one thing. It's not about this match. There's a certain player I played in a previous match, and throughout that match, the number of times that I heard like certain questionable words, it was like at least like 10 plus times that I heard that I heard it. Yeah, it was during a previous match, like at least like 10 times I heard someone like kind of losing their mind.
To myself as well, so I think when
it was sorry guys, to be clear, it was during a match during this SEC.
On the third game in a row and tied the match, he was like shouting to himself, like, or I think maybe I heard the slaps, maybe he was like slapping his face and saying, wake up. I thought that's
true. I did. Yeah,
that was funny. True. It was a clear sign, of course, that I had the momentum.
Right.
And as I mentioned
earlier,
that game really was a
wake up.
It was a bit of a backbreaker for me, because I was applying pressure, and if I hadn't given him this chance to go pawn hunting, I think I could have put a lot of pressure in him in that game, and probably won the match. One thing I should say though, that in general, there's been this sort of, it's always been this discourse that Hikaru is much better at bullet than everybody. I think at least at 1-1. I think he doesn't practice really 1-0. I don't either these days, but so I don't know his level there. But I think in 1-1, I was not the least bit worried about that. I was still thinking at the end of 3, if I'm within a couple of games, I thought like I'm a slight favorite for bullets, so I should be fine. So I feel like sort of the notion that he's a lot better than everybody at 1-1 is a bit outdated at best.
Interesting. That's interesting. I actually think that he's right and he's wrong. He's right from the standpoint that like I wouldn't say, I'd say like against him it's a coin flip. I would say like against him or Ali Reza for that matter, I think it's 100% a coin flip. But I do think against almost everybody else, I am still a big favorite. But I think that Magnus and Ali Reza are the two people where I would say that I don't think that I'm ever a favorite anymore. I would say that. I think it's very 50-50 if I'm playing either of them. Everyone else, I think that probably Nihal, but the problem with the Nihal match is that like against Nihal I was already ahead, wasn't I? Like it changes it when the match is all square at some point, that changes things. When you're way ahead, it's like it's just kind of different. Naroditsky, Naroditsky at 1+1 I think is a big dog against all of us. In 1-0, Naroditsky Naroditsky is probably on par with all of us, if not maybe better. But in 1-1, I think in 1-1 we're all favorites against him. The 1 second increment changes a lot.
Magnus, we have a feature chat question from Honey Bear, who asks what your mindset was going to the tournament. I'll just tack on a question about you mentioning settling scores. Could you expand on that a little bit?
MVL,
and on a broader
baby.
scale,
MVL.
Magnus, does it motivate you when people respond very reactively when you don't win a tournament, which is of course very rare? Does it motivate you when people start talking about Magnus's domination is coming to an end, all of that nonsense? Does that give you even more motivation to set the record straight?
Yes, of course. I really wanted to set the record straight in this tournament. There's no doubt about that. So that was sort of my main motivation for well, I mean, it's a fun event, but sort of my motivation was set the record straight, show that I'm still the best. I remember before the 2020 event, I was thinking that like I thought that at the start that there was about 20 to 25% chance that I would lose to Hikaru, and then probably 5% or a little bit less that I would lose to somebody else. And
he did lose to someone else, though.
I think it was pretty similar this time, actually.
I mean, that's the only problem. He did lose to the 5% guy last time. That's the only problem.
And so these things obviously do happen. So that's why I'm also sitting here. Like, it's as I said. Like, I think I'm somewhat better, but it's close enough that it's you know it's an exciting matchup, and that's really all you can hope for. And I think it's really fitting that even though like the quality of the matches were a bit varying, that both Hikaru and I were pretty comfortable in our matches coming into the final.
Varying is a nice way of not saying something about his opponents, the quality of some of the opponents in their play.
So it only makes sense that the final would be very very tense and very close.
Well, Magnus, we asked Hikaru this question. I asked him if he was looking at the Zoom call. So one part of that is, how often do you look at the call, and is that valuable to see people's reaction? And the second part is, Hikaru said he believes that if you didn't know that you were playing you, if nobody knew they were playing you, that they might perform better. What do you think about that? Would people perform better against you if they didn't know?
I don't know how you're supposed to answer that anyway, though.
Them?
Yes, of course. 10 plus years of domination is intimidating to face. So it's as simple as that. And similarly, people are extremely intimidated while facing Hikaru. So there's no doubt that that's a factor. Like, you double, triple check stuff that you normally wouldn't, and I think you just play a bit worse. And I think it's also the case that I'm not intimidated by him, and I don't think he's really that intimidated by me anymore, and that sort of frees us up both a little bit. As for the Zoom call, no, I've sort of spoken about this before, that I feel like there are a lot of fake tells coming from Hikaru, so I prefer not to.
I'll tell you guys what this. I'll give you guys some backstory, specifically what he's referring to. It's because there was a time in the 2020 tour, there was a game that we played. I don't know if it was in the tour finals or which event it was, but there was a game in the finals where he made a blunder in a winning position because he saw me shaking my head. There was a position in the, I think it was in the finals. I think it was that Nimzo game, if I remember correctly. It was one of these Nimzo games, and my king was somewhere in the middle of the board, I think. And he played a move that was not quite, maybe it was a bishop b5, or he played something, and he still won the game. So the position was that good, but he was winning on the spot. And he played a move that was not winning on the spot. I don't remember the exact game, so someone in chat can tell you. But it was an OTB game or not OTB, sorry. It was an online game during I think it was a tour finals in 2020, in like the 4th or 5th match.
Try and look for them. So I don't want to watch the call. I watched the board, but I do listen to what's being said, of course.
Actor first, streamer second. Good one.
Mm-hmm. Well, Magnus, final question from IPK1. Your reaction to France losing, and was your decision to play the French in a couple of games an homage to, unfortunately, the losing team?
No. No, it wasn't. I wasn't getting great positions in the French, so maybe that wasn't a great decision. But But I mean, to be honest, like I was rooting for France, but
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so people are asking questions. Yes, you can hear each other on the Zoom call, of course, because honestly, like I'll just be honest, like if you didn't have mics on, someone could literally be sitting here and be like, play Queen D5, play Queen F4. I mean, yes, so you have you have your mics on, obviously. Like, I mean that's how it goes, because literally you got some like be like Queen D5, Queen F4, Queen C3. Like I mean, yeah. So the mics are on, just to be very, very clear. Why don't they have you guys mute each other though? I mean, I guess theoretically, like, yeah, I mean, you could mute it, you could mute it ahead of time. But the thing is, like, so, but it just gets complicated though. At any rate, you don't want to have, you can't listen to music. No, actually, one thing I want to point out, it didn't really play a role in this match against Magnus, but actually it's worth noting, I felt that when I played against Nihal, not having headphones on, not hearing that the clock sound when you get below 10 seconds actually hurt me a lot, because Nihal, for example, was playing on a laptop, and of course he just had sound. I think he just had the sound of the pieces, but for me, I have my headphones plugged in, so I actually don't hear the sound when I'm playing the games, and that actually affected me quite a bit. That affected me quite a bit in the Nihal match. This match, it didn't really affect me, but in that one, it did work, because I didn't, you know, when you get below 10 seconds, you hear that tick, 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 whatever the sound is. I don't have speakers, you guys. Sorry, I just don't have speakers. But at any rate, yeah.